Okay, welcome to the team call for tonight, February 19th. Tonight we're going to talk about time management, and so I'm going to just jump right into that because I have a couple pages of notes and some things I want to share with you. So let me start with saying I know that we're all busy, and we're all busy because of different things, because some of us are full-time moms, some of us homeschool, and some of us have full-time jobs outside of your home and maybe a longer commute. Everybody is struggling with different challenges, whatever they are, as far as managing times. And I wanted to start by just saying, if you're new to the business, or even if you're not so new, you're adding something new into your life, into your schedule. And when you add new things into your life, something has to go, right? I mean, you can't just say, okay, I have this new business and I'm going to work on it, 7 hours a week or 20 hours a week or whatever you've decided, without making some sort of sacrifice somewhere in your life. So definitely, I think, keep that in mind as we're talking tonight. So the main thing I wanted to talk about tonight is setting business hours and why that is important. And the thing with time is, if you don't figure out where to send it, it's a lot like money, right? It all goes somewhere. And if you haven't decided in advance where you're going to spend that time, you're still going to spend it doing something. And so what I would encourage you to do is to think about what time you have, what commitments you have, and how much time you want to spend on your Beachbody business every week. And I think the more time that you have to spend on it, maybe the faster you can grow. But I honestly believe with about 5 to 7 hours a week, you can still build a successful business. And if you want to grow faster, I think about 15 to 20 hours a week. So the first thing I think in managing your time as far as Beachbody is concerned is to figure out how many hours you want to work. And so for me, there's a maximum amount of time that I'm willing to work before this wouldn't be successful to me. And, I don't want to be working 80 hours a week, because then it's not worth it anymore. My suggestion to you, because I think everybody on this call is interested in building an actual business, is to make sure that you have time to schedule at least 5 power hours a week. And if you don't know what a power hour is, then I can send you a video that will explain what that is. But it's basically an hour where you spend 20 minutes focusing on reaching out to new people, 20 minutes focusing on following up, and then 20 minutes doing something else that's going to grow your business. So when you're thinking about your business hours, make sure you find the time to schedule at least 5 power hours. Get a planner. I'm like planner obsessed, like in just calendars in general, like sitting right here, I can see 1, 2, 3, like 7 calendars. That's not even a joke. But it helps keep me on track, and they're all for different things. So I have a schedule of like what my personal development's going to be, when I'm starting groups, things like that. The planners that I would recommend, there's 2 that I've used that I like. And the first one is called Planner Pad. I actually liked this planner, but it was so gigantic that I never took it with me anywhere, so it wasn't really functional for me. But what I like about it is all the space that it gives you to write in and to like keep track of what you're doing. And what I didn't like is that it was hard to tell, what hours were specifically for different things. And also, I would have to move things forward every week. And as you can see, that did not always happen. So I didn't really love that part of it. But the planner I'm using now is this one. It's called the Action Day Planner. And I really like it a lot because this whole section right here is time. So it has from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. The only thing I wish is that this went later, because most of my times are, a lot of what I do is later in the evening. But this section is all for scheduling out your time. Over here you have a to-do list kind of section. You have a section here for things you're delegating out, and then a section here for long-term projects. And this has worked really well for me because you can see, I hope, the yellow on this. These are my business hours. So what I do when I'm thinking about what my business hours are going to be. I schedule them every week. I don't do them like, okay, every week I'm going to have the same hours. On Sunday, I sit down and I first write in all of my other obligations. So like, this is my kids' co-op, and this is hockey practice and church, and then like weekend stuff. So I first write in all of that, and then I look at the time I have left. Most of the time I don't have yellow here in the middle. That was something where I was actually meeting Alex in person that week. But then I actually schedule in all of my business hours. And for me, this is my work schedule for the week. And I treat it really seriously. And I'll tell people, you know, I can't come do that tonight because I have to come home and do my team call, those kind of things. So having a planner really helps me, and it really keeps me on track as far as saying these are my hours and this is when I'm going to work. If you have a significant other, it might be something that that you want to talk to him about, because, or yeah, him, we're all girls, because it's going to impact them. So like right now, my husband's going to bed because he has to get up early, and I'll still be up working for a couple hours. So let them know, you know, these are going to be my business hours. I have a team call at this time every week. You're going to have to put Madison in bed on Thursday nights, that kind of thing. Also, let's see, when you're thinking about when your hours are going to be, you might have to sacrifice something. So like I said at the beginning, you're adding something new into your life. Something's going to have to change in order to make those extra hours, however many that might be. So for me, I hardly watch TV anymore. I guess I wouldn't say I really love TV in the first place, so that's not a huge sacrifice for me. Sometimes I'm sacrificing sleep, or sometimes people will invite me to do something, let's say on a Thursday night, and I have to say no because I'm going to stay home and do this. But, you know, Sally actually posted something today on Facebook, and it said, sacrifice does not mean giving up your desires. It means giving up your lesser desires so you can achieve your greater ones. And I really like that, and I thought it went well with what I'm talking about tonight, because yeah, I am sacrificing things, and I know what my goal is and what I'm willing to sacrifice to get there. So sometimes I think, oh man, if I did not homeschool, I could do so much more with my Beachbody business. But that's something I'm not willing to sacrifice. TV, I'm totally willing to sacrifice that. A little bit of sleep, I'm able to give that up. So think about, you know, where your business is and what things you can adjust in your life in order to get your business hours in. But make sure to schedule your family first. Like I said, I put my kids' stuff in my calendar first, and I work my Beachbody business around them. I'm going totally out of order on my notes here. So let's see. Then when you do have hours, figure out how to spend them and really focus on your business. So for me, when I first started doing Beachbody, sometimes I'd sit down and be like, okay, great, I have 2 hours to work on this. Okay, I've invited 15 people. Now what do? I don't know, you know, what to do next. I've already done all my invitations. So these are some things that I've done. One that I do during my hours that I have set aside for my business that might be helpful. And two, scrolling through Facebook is not business hours. Like, that's my biggest distraction. So I'll get like a notification, and then I go in, and all of a sudden I'm just scrolling Facebook, and it's not really building relationships, you know, when you're going through liking posts and stuff. So don't do that during your business hours. So one thing in your business hours, focus on doing a power hour 5 times a week. I've already said that. Every day you should be starting conversations with 3 to 5 new people with the intention of inviting them to something. And I actually made up this calendar that is this is in the files of the team page, and it's also in the Google Docs. But this is like a monthly group calendar, and it posts on there all the groups that we run as a team and when I try to run them. so that you know what you have to invite people to. So one week it says, start inviting people to a free 5-day challenge. One day it says, invite to a What Is Coaching webinar or a Look Into Coaching group. So you don't really have to necessarily think about that. I sat down and I thought about this a lot and tried to make a logical thing so that, you know, if you're doing a free 5-day challenge this week, then it makes sense the next week to invite to a, you know, full challenge. And when that 21-day challenge is ending up, it makes sense to start inviting people to a Look Into Coaching group. So I tried to take the guesswork out of that. So when you're doing your power hour, you don't necessarily have to think about it. You can just look at the thing and say, okay, what should I be inviting to this week? I also have a big calendar that is on my wall. And on this calendar, I actually have scheduled out my groups for pretty much until June. So I know what I have going on, and I have Beachbody events on there. It's only a Beachbody calendar. And I have when the quarters start and end and different things like that. So I can see something at a glance and be like, okay, what should I be inviting to? Now I know what it is. You can put that all on the same calendar. You don't need to have 12 like me, but it's better for my brain. Okay. When you think of something to do for your business, just go ahead and write it down, because chances are when you're sitting down later, you may not remember that thing that you thought of 2 hours ago that was such a good idea. So I try to write things down as I think of them. And then when I actually sit down to work, I can do them. In addition to trying to do 5 power hours a week, what I have found is really helpful for me is scheduling one big chunk. So on Sundays when my husband is home and can take the kids, I normally try to work for like a 4-hour chunk, and he gets to be the dad and make dinner and play with the kids that night. And during that time, I have this little piece of paper that I keep on my wall over here that is kind of the sequence of stuff that I do for that night. So on Sunday, I write out 10 year-long goals. I do that every Sunday. I write out my 10 goals for the week of what I want to accomplish that week. I go through my calendar and I schedule my business hours for that week. I check my calendar to see what I have coming up and what I should be inviting to this week. I try to work on blog posts, picture editing, video editing, maybe make videos. I try to schedule out my social media posts, and sometimes that means I use Hootsuite, and sometimes I literally just write them down on a piece of paper so that I remember, but at least I have a kind of logical schedule through the week. If I'm doing advertising, I try to do that. If I need to do a newsletter or make a new form. So all of my big business activities, I try to do during that one block of time. So then during the rest of the week, if all I get to are my power hours, that's okay. Okay. Another thing that I do every day is I check into my groups. So that's something that you'll want to have in your work time. And also I do personal development every day. And I just do that right before I go to bed. And I have, again, a calendar of my personal development that's scheduled out for this entire year, so that it's not something I think about. I just look at what book is next on the list and start reading it. If you still need more ideas of what to do, this is a really cool form that's also in the Google Drive, and I think it's in our team page also, but this is called Beachbody Coaching Week in Action, and it shows what different things you can do each day to keep growing your business, and it's literally just like a check off. So connect with 5 people, answer your emails, do personal development, manage your challenge group. So if you're having trouble thinking of things to do, this is a good one. I also have this. I'm not currently following this schedule because I'm doing more in my chunk on Sunday, but this is something that I made up of what I do Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and it's what I was following last summer. So that's something that I could share also, just to give you ideas of how you could break up your schedule. And on this schedule, I was working 15 hours a week. And that worked really well for me. What I wanted to do next was just kind of tell you a little bit about exactly what I'm doing now. So I told you 4 hours on Sunday, that's what I do. Every morning when I wake up, I check into my challenge groups. I try to do that before my kids get up, but that doesn't always happen. Sometimes they're still awake, and normally I try to spend about 30 minutes making sure I've posted in my clean eating group or look into coaching group, in my challenge groups, in my training groups, and in the team page, and responding to everything. Throughout the day, I personally do respond to messages as I get them. If I don't want to respond to messages, like if I want to focus on something else, I'll just leave my phone in another room so I don't see it. I will tell you, this sucks more of my time than anything else. So if you're trying to get a grip on, controlling your business hours and not letting Beachbody take over your life, turn off notifications on your phone. Nobody will be heartbroken if you don't get back to them for 12 hours. Wait till your business hours and then respond to messages. And, when you made your schedule, you figured out what time you were willing to give your business. So if you're not willing, if you don't want that to take over your life, just say, I'm not going to respond to messages between whatever hours. I'll wait until I'm working again. And that's perfectly okay. Let's see. And then every evening I work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, either from 7:30 when my kids are in bed or when I get home, because one night we have hockey, one night we have church, until I'm done for the night right now. So depending on how it's going for me, sometimes that's till like 9:30 and sometimes it's later. And Saturday, I pretty much don't do anything aside from just check into my groups in the morning. So all day Saturday, I consider that my off day. And I honestly probably only work 20, 25 hours a week. And if I didn't answer so many messages during the day, it would probably be less than that. But the bottom line is, if you don't plan your week and you don't set those hours, it will plan itself for you. And that's when it can get really overwhelming. So my biggest tip, and the focus of this call, is to set business hours and figure out how you're going to spend them. And I'm sorry, my throat is getting really dry. You can get creative on this. So like, I have a success partner. We do our calls on Sunday morning at 6:15. That is not convenient for me at all, but I sacrifice sleep to be able to do that at a time that, we both can get up. Everybody else in our houses are asleep, and we're able to do that without interfering with family time. Almost all of my work hours are after my kids are in bed. And so that's actually all I had for tonight, but I would love to open it up. If you guys have questions or you want to touch on something that I didn't get to tonight, I'd be happy to answer any questions, so just unmute yourself.
I have a question. For the planner that you carry around, that Action Day Planner, do you only keep your Beachbody things in it? Like, you schedule out your family time, and then do you only keep your Beachbody to-do list? And then, okay, so yeah, so that's just Beachbody to-do list then.
Yes, I have two planners. It's a problem, guys. This is the one I use for my family stuff. It's called Amy Knapp's Family Organizer, and on the side it has like where you can write out your menu, and then on the back side it's like a grocery thing that you can pull out and take with you shopping. So this is where I do like my family and school to-do list. This is only Beachbody, and I write my family activities in it just so that I can plan my Beachbody activities around it. Mm-hmm. But I actually don't even carry this with me anywhere. It just stays in my office mostly. This is the one I carry with me to write doctor's appointments and that kind of stuff.
Okay, that helps me because I have one planner that I keep both of them in, and I just notice it just gets confused, and I start drawing arrows, and then I just throw it out the door because it's just too confusing. Yeah. So that helps out a lot.
I've used this Amy Knapp's planner since like honestly like 8 years now. And so I already know that this works really well for me, for my family. And I've only been using this other one for a couple months, but it was nice to divide it up. And it works better for me this way also.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that I noticed, I think I figured it out a week or two ago, on our like pages, you can actually schedule posts there. So I know with my work schedule lately, I mean, it's been so crazy that so that my like page doesn't go ignored for a few days. I've been scheduling them, and actually I had scheduled posts like to do 2 of them each day throughout the rest of the month, so that way that's taken care of. I mean, I still add stuff each day, but that way I know for sure I can get a couple things in.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a good point. And that's what I will sometimes do on Sundays when I'm scheduling out my week. It depends on how prepared I am. You can tell. Sometimes my social media is really good and sometimes it's like not so on. But the scheduling helps a lot for sure. Okay. Well, if nobody else has any questions, that's all I had for tonight. So I will let you guys go, and I'll see you all next week. So thanks for taking the time tonight to hop on here and listen to me talk for 20 minutes. And have a good week.